Are you thinking about taking part in a game jam? Do you want to get the most out of the event? Here's a game jam tutorial that will make sure that you're satisfied with the experience. In this video, we're going to show you how to prepare and participate in a game jam so that you are efficient and productive. After watching this video, you'll know how to form the right team, create the best plan, and achieve the ideal outcome given your goals. These success tips come from years of participating and observation in the global game jam, the biggest video game jam in the world. We've seen teams use this approach to create impressive games in very short periods of time and earn the respect of their peers. We are Ask Gamedev, and this is how to successfully participate in a game jam. Welcome back! If you're new to Ask Gamedev, we make videos to help you learn about the games industry so that you can elevate your games and inspire others. If you're on a game dev journey, consider subscribing. We'd love to help you along the way. So what is a game jam? Game jam competitions are similar to hackathons and focus on creating video games in a very short period of time, typically 48 hours over a weekend. Game jams take place all over the world, with aspiring game developers working in teams in open spaces like universities, conference halls, or within tech companies. There are even virtual game jams, like Ludum, where all participants are remote and collaborate online. Game jams typically involve a team of 3 to 5 members working towards a simple gameplay prototype around a design concept that is only revealed at the start of the jam. This way, the team can't prepare the game in advance. Teams are typically allowed to use tools and scripts off the web to help advance their development. But the spirit of a jam is to not develop in earnest before the start of the event. Jams are highly collaborative affairs. Teams generally help their peers, and there is a definite culture of sharing in a jam. Some jams even have awards for winning teams and carry significant prestige. These events can be more competitive in nature and might hold a different culture than others. The first step is to form your team for the jam. There are 2 options here: create your own team beforehand, or show up at the jam looking for partners. The type of team you create is totally up to you, but the typical objective is to get a group of individuals that have complementary skill sets that will allow for broad development options. For example, a common team structure might be a designer, an artist, an engineer, and a sound artist. Other typical roles might be an animator or a modeler. Whatever you choose, be aware that your software goals will have to reflect the skill sets that you have on your team, so pick wisely. So once you have your team, one of the most important discussions you can have with your group is to align early on your collective goal for the jam. The reality is that people participate in game jams for a variety of reasons. Some want to learn more about the development process, some want to make friends and contacts in the industry, some want to win, and some just want to enjoy the process and have fun. The most important thing is to understand each other's goals before getting started. This will greatly reduce the chances of friction within the team, as everyone will understand each other's motives. A worst-case scenario is to have one team member who wants to push the team to work around the clock in hopes of winning, only to discover mid-jam that the teammates have no interest in pushing hard for the goal. So be upfront with everyone in advance about what you as individuals want to achieve. Hopefully you can agree to a consensus with your team members. If you can't, hopefully there's a time to change up your team members to get better alignment. If you were to participate in a jam, what would your goal be? Check out the poll above and let us know. Now that you have your team, it's important to align on the decision-making process for the group. Similar to defining your goal, this is a critical step as it will reduce the chance of conflict during the jam between team members. There are typically 2 schools of thought with decision-making. Either your team can form a consensus to decide on contentious matters, or you can assign decision-making to an individual based on their area of expertise. In the latter, you may want to allow the team designer to make all decisions based on design, the team engineer to decide on all issues related to code architecture, and the team artist to define the style and art direction, and so on. Now that you have your team and decision-making process, an important step is to put time limits on the different phases of your development process so that you can be sure you have enough time to meet your software objectives. The best way to start this process is to agree with your team on the different phases you expect to complete during the jam. These phases should be specific to your particular project goals, but here's an illustrative example that you could use as a starting point. In this example, let's pretend that the team is working under a 48-hour jam timeline. The team would want to define when they will achieve the following: planning and alignment, i.e. who plays what roles, how will they make decisions, what is the team goal. Let's say the team should finish that discussion in 30 minutes. Design lock. This would be having the team agree on a high-level design. What will the final deliverables ideally look like? Let's say the team is working towards a 2D platformer that aligns with the Game Jam theme. This will inform all of the first game elements that will be needed and allow the different team members to start working. Let's say this is locked by the 1 hour mark. Next is the full deliverable list. This design is typically driven by the designer in the team and would detail all of the specific mechanics and assets that will be needed for the final deliverable. All team participants will have to buy in on their part of this plan. Let's say the team has to lock the full deliverable list at 2 hours in. Content lock. This is the point where all content is in the build and only tweaks to existing code and assets remain. This could be completed at 44 hours in. Tuning lock. This is where all the final tuning of the experience is complete. The game is essentially done except for any last-minute bugs. This could be completed shortly after. And finally, bug fixing. This should be complete at the 47-hour and 30-minute mark, leaving half an hour to prepare any unforeseen last items before delivery of your build. Again, this is just illustrative, but you get the idea. Come up with a timeline that makes sense with your group and make sure you hit your deadline. If you can't hit your deadlines during the jam, take a few minutes to review your scope of work to make sure it makes sense to continue on your original path, or whether it makes sense to make some cuts so that you can catch up to your timeline goals. Another good practice is to have regular alignment points during the game jam where everyone on the team can give updates on their progress and mention if they see any risks to their part of development. Again, this should be customized to your specific project and goals, but meeting every few hours to align on progress reduces the overall risk that one area shows up late and winds up having a domino effect on other team areas. So the final piece of your planning is to leave some time near the end of the jam to account for tuning of your playable and addressing any bugs. As with all development projects, nothing ever just works the first time. As you integrate different assets or elements of code into the build, things will break and items will not work as planned. So always leave some time to clean up the bugs and tweak the experience to make sure it's as good as it can be. How much time should you allocate for this phase of development? Well, that depends on your specific type of development project you're driving towards. Consider the chances of your mechanics and content elements causing instability in the build or needing refinement beyond initial implementation. Being conservative is never a bad choice with this planning. And lastly, this is a controversial one, but we highly recommend all team members take time to eat and sleep during the jam. Not only is this important to your health, but it's difficult to do your best work when you're exhausted and hungry. We appreciate that jams can be competitive, and some participants will argue that every minute counts if you're to deliver something amazing, but we've seen many teams burn out and deliver an unfinished playable because team members crash in the final jam hours as a result of lack of sleep or lack of food. In our opinion, optimal output comes from a well-rested and well-nourished team. Thanks for watching. We are Ask Gamedev, and we make videos on games, the game industry, and more. If you'd like to see more videos, please subscribe. We make new videos every week. Have you ever participated in a game jam? If so, which one? We'd love to see your games. Tell us about your game in the comments, and we'll check it out. And lastly, if you did like this video, consider hitting the like button or subscribing as we publish new content every week on how to elevate your games.